Welcome you all. Before I start the question and answer discussion, a small note. If you are liking this series and if you want more of it, please do encourage me in liking this content, commenting as to whatever you have learned. Please do comment your learnings so that I'll understand that you have learned something and that will encourage me as well as you and many others. Please do subscribe and do this activities. Thank you, and let's get into this discussion now. Hello students, welcome you all. And today's question, which is related to soil, specifically it is related to soil degradation, because that's a very important component of our academic activities. And in the recent past, the rate of degradation has been very high, and there should be a greater amount of utmost importance and utmost concentration to be given to restore our soils. Soils are getting degraded at a faster pace. That's the reason why you got this question, which is related to soil degradation. So let's get into as to how to write this answer and understand this question. So the topic, describe the different types of soil degradation. Different types. One is the types of soil degradation observed in India and their impact on agricultural productivity. That's very sure, because the moment the soil gets degraded, obviously India being a country which is having a larger population dependent on agriculture, the agricultural productivity has been impacted a lot. Now moving further, and what soil conservation measures are being implemented in the country to address these challenges and how effective are they? So there are two different questions. One is related to types of soil degradation. The next one is related to the methods of conservation, or the kind of what are the conservation measures implemented to address those specific degradation challenges, and were they effective or not. So this is what we are supposed to write as an answer, which is for your 10 marker. So now, in your intro, what can be your introduction? See, this is a very typical question, or you can just take an example wherein you can just write down as to what is the percentage of soil getting degraded on a year-on-year basis. If you can go through your number data, if you can remember your number data, you can start your answer with your statistics. And if at all, if you are not thorough with your statistics, or if you could not remember your number data, you can also start your answer with your definition. So soil is getting degraded. So what do you mean by soil degradation? So you can just go with definition, or you can go with your statistics. So two forms, okay? So but it's better you can, even if you are going with statistics, you can, it's a good chance where you can define as to what soil degradation is, so that will lead you into a much better understanding of the answer in the further part. So that will be your intro with regard to definition and as well as your statistics. Next, moving further, what are the, with coming to the body, what are the types of soil degradation? This is what we are supposed to address. So see, the states like Punjab, Haryana, Telangana, good parts of Rajasthan, and good parts of Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal, few parts of West Bengal are undergoing soil degradation or land degradation at a faster pace, or the rate is very, very high. And one of the major reasons is, along these states, is intensive agricultural activities, because India is a country where we find good amount of intensive agricultural activities, because so as to fulfill our food needs, or so as to make sure that there is good amount of food security, we are into intensive agricultural activities. So in this intensive agricultural activities, there is great amount of water which has been utilized, isn't it? So because of mechanized irrigation methods, the availability of water has been increased, and overutilization of water has led to one problem called erosion of the soil. So that's one major factor, wherein whether it be along your alluvial or fertile regions, or it be along your infertile regions, the soil is getting degraded, especially with the help of erosional activity. Wherever you have good amount of water availability, there is erosion due to water, and wherever there is less water because of lack of concentration towards cropping and agricultural activities, and any other forms of agricultural activities, the land becoming barren, due to which wind erosion has also been prevalent. So due to which we can just say that the first and the foremost thing is erosion, which is majorly due to, one is water and the other one is wind. So which is leading to reduction in the soil fertility, and water holding capacity has been reduced, and later that is leading to crop yield, reduction in the crop yield. So these are the points which we can talk about. Next, the second type, which is very important, is after erosion, is salinization. Again, because of your intensive agricultural activities, what is happening? You have good amount of canal irrigation, you have good amount of borewell irrigation, you have different forms of macro irrigation as well as micro irrigation. So due to this intensive, due to this irrigation activity, there are few land masses where the amount of water within that land area has been more than its requirement of the requirement. Because the poor the poor farmer thinks that the more the water given, the more the amount of crop yield. So that in that thoughts, yes, the amount of water which has been taken from the ground is more, that is leading to groundwater depletion later. But apart from that, as the amount of water across that region, across that ground region has been increased immensely, what is happening? It cannot percolate, and the water across that region has been increased immensely, and the water starts getting evaporated. And the moment the water gets evaporated, what happens? Even the salts which are present along the bottommost portions of your water region or along the topmost regions of the soil gets updrafted, and water gets evaporated, and even the minerals getting onto the topmost layers of the soil. That led to a greater amount of soils which is receiving good amount of residue on the topmost regions of the soil, and that's called salinization. Or pictorially, you can just think about saying that you have a canal which is present over here, and you have good amount of water, and you have a land over here, and this land, because of lack of bunding to this canal, if there is no proper bunding, the amount of water which has been moving across this canal may percolate into the adjacent lands. So now what is happening? The amount of water within this land area is excess than the required amount. So now this land becomes much more marshy, and there is greater amount of evaporation. Now the moment there is evaporation, what happens? The mineral constituents which are present, the minerals which are present inside this soil, because of the capillary action of the water molecules, even the mineral constituents gets updrafted and settles on the topmost regions of the soil. And this process, this process is now considered to be as a formation of good amount of residue or formation of good amount of salts on the topmost soil. And this is a phenomenon called salinization of the soil. So that's also a very major degrading activity across Indian landmass. So accumulation of salts across the surface of the soil, which is due to improper irrigation. That's, in a small nutshell or in a small sentence, we can just say that formation or increase in the amount of salt content on the topmost soil due to improper irrigational methods, and leading to lowered crops and leading to the reduced crop yield. Next, at times, there is also an activity called, apart from salinization, give me a minute, apart from there is also a phenomenon called acidification, and this is also happening because of excess amount of utilization of, just give me a minute, you can just write down this acidification as a point, later as a next type, that's better. You can just write it out, this acidification. That's also another type of soil degradation, which is due to excessive use of chemicals or excessive use of pesticides. Let's take an example. The amount of utilization of pesticides has been very high in such a way that only 2% of the pesticide which has been sprayed on across the cropland, only 2% can be utilized for reduction in the pests across your plant. But the remaining amount of pesticide is settling along the surface of the soil. And what is happening now? The soil pH is now getting disturbed, wherein there is a lowered amount of pH, wherein that's a phenomenon called acidification, which is just because of your excessive use of pesticides or chemical materials. Let's say there is an example in the recent past from the regions of Vellore. You have wheat, isn't it? The engineers have thought to introduce AI to understand as to what is the amount of rate of pests infested onto a crop. They are trying to understand based on the amount of timing and the amount of pests accumulating on the plant region or the crop region. So based on the amount of volume of the pests, they are trying to suggest the farmer as to what will be the quantity of the pesticide that can be used on the cropland. Because farmer is not aware of all these things. They think that yes, there is a good amount of pests, you are supposed to utilize these pesticides. So utilization of AI can be a much better method to conserve the soils, isn't it? You can just bring in AI as well. Now, acidification is a problem across Indian landmass because of excessive use of chemicals, fertilizers and industrial pollution. Industrial pollution is also hampering your nutrients within the soil. That's also a problem. And then desertification. What is this desertification? You have semi-arid regions and you have arid regions. And the problem over here is because of your climatical changes or because of your lack of proper funding to the farmers, or because of having a small, most of the Indian farmers are small and marginal farmers. And if at all, if the land is not that fertile and the amount of credits which are available to the farmers is not there, yes, the farmers will be leaving those landmass as barren. And specifically because of climate change and other harsh extreme weather events, the groundwater is getting depleted. And the farmer cannot afford to have good amount of could not afford to bring in good amount of water to different mechanized methods. So due to which he is making the land being barren. And that is again a problem where the land getting barren, and that's a region where your amount of desertification has been increased. And that's a problem across even Rayalaseema until the recent past. The amount of land changing into arid regions has been increasing across that region. And only then, because of your micro irrigation methods and because of other methods and introduction of horticulture in the regions of Rayalaseema, the farmers across the region is becoming in a much better manner. That became a boon to those Rayalaseema region to stop the growth of to stop the desertification activities. So desertification is a problem across that region. That is wherein there should be a specific biodiversity within that soil. There is loss of biodiversity on the soil as well as within the soil. Soil is getting eroded, whether it be due to wind or it be due to water activities. So these are, because of your extreme weather event, that led to a phenomenon called desertification. So which is increasing, and you are trying to talk about your green belt initiatives in the recent past, wherein to stop your desertification, and you have UNCCD, isn't it? So that is to be conserved. So these are your different types. One is erosion, salinization, acidification, and desertification are the different types of soil degradation activities. And now observed in India, and their impact is, as we talk about desertification, that is again leading to increased droughts. Yes, acidification is also leading to reduced crop yields. So that will be the impact on agricultural productivity. Now moving further, what are the soil conservation measures? Conservation measures. Yes, Indian government has got good amount of programs, government initiatives or government programs What are they? You have soil health card scheme, you have watershed management. That's also an important phenomenon wherein to conserve soil so as to reduce water erosion. Erosion due to water. And you have Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, isn't it? And you have neem coated urea, utilization of neem coated urea. You can just write down neem coated urea, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. You have Bhumitra in Karnataka, and you have Krishi Rasta, which is helping to understand the soil and the soil conditions. So different soil testing methods, soil health card schemes, as I told you, water management system. So these are all your government initiatives so as to reduce your soil conservation measures. And apart from that, you have traditional practices. Government methods are there, and traditionally you have good amount of methods. What are they? You talk about contour farming, contour bunding, terrace farming, crop rotation, intercropping, isn't it? Use of organic fertilizers, or afforestation, reforestation. So these are all traditional methods. You can just write down in such a way. Traditional methods like afforestation, reforestation, as I told you, the contour farming, contour bunding, terrace farming, crop rotation, intercropping, mixed farming. So these are all your traditional methods or good olden methods. And then you have agroforestry, where you have trees, you have shrubs, you have small plants as crops. All these things, it's a mixed farming, but these trees are trying to barricade or trying to make sure that these trees are helping those interior land area not to get eroded at a faster pace. So it is acting as a agricultural landscape have been bordered and has been properly been acting as a barrier. So agroforestry is another method. So as to improve your, that helps in improving your soil fertility. It is also increasing your biodiversity within that region. So there are different objectives, there are different advantages by introducing this agroforestry methods. Now moving further, you can also talk about, as I told you, the other innovative methods like AI, use of AI. You have another form, very important thing called carbon farming, which is now prevalent across major parts of India, India as well as the world. And farmers have also been given good amount of incentives if they are proactive in carbon farming activities, making sure that the cropped land area can sequestrate good amount of carbon. If it can hold good amount of carbon, if they are in a position to make sure that, what is this? Zero tillage activities. Zero tillage. What is happening? The amount of carbon holding capacity gets increased across the region. So carbon farming is good method. So in this manner, soils can be conserved and soils can be restored or replenished into its original form. Now, these are your, the earlier ones are your challenges, and these are your measures, and were they effective or not? And you should conclude it. So that will be your answer. See, when we talk about your effectiveness, yes, they were being effective across few regions, and they are not as effective as across other regions. The reason is the implementation and the kind of funds which has been released by the government agencies and the governments, the interest by the farming communities is being getting differed from region to region based on their income levels and based on their land areas. So that's the reason why it should be effective. But there are few examples. You can just write down few examples as to where these are effective. Let's say now Telangana and Andhra Pradesh are the leading states where the amount of organic farming has been at a far better manner. Let's say an example like Sikkim. completely organic state. So, organic farming is a method where soils can be conserved in a much better manner, right? So, that's a traditional method. So, you can write in examples like Sikkim as one, or you talk about the increase in the amount of organic farming across the regions of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So, these can be your examples to make sure that, so substantiate the effectiveness. And later the conclusion. What can be a conclusion? Obviously, the soils to be conserved with the help of your farming communities, with the help of your NGOs, the banking facilities, and the government, and there should be a strong political will. So all these combined in a cooperative manner, you can build a sustainable soils so as to make sure that you have sustainable agriculture within this country, like within a country which is highly populous, and so as to address your food security. So that will be your conclusion, because food security is to be addressed, it should be sustainable, and they should be conserved with a greater amount of political will. So these are the keywords which you can include in your conclusion. That's all. So that is how you are supposed to write your answer. Acha, whatever you have learned, or what if you are in other forms of needs, or if you have any doubts, you can just comment in the comment sections, or whatever you have learned, please do comment it, so that will be encouraging my activities as well. So that I assume that you have heard this topic and you have learned it, and if at all, whatever you have learnings, just type it over there. So that will help me to, that will also boost me, right? So please do it. Comment it. If you like this video, please do like it. That's all. Thank you very much. Bye bye.